Is a member of the Life Esidimeni Victims Family Committee, and on the line we have DA spokesperson Solly Malatsi. Solly, we'll start with you. This billboard has been widely condemned.
Good evening to viewers. Hello.
Hi, I can hear you. I'm just asking for your response to that condemnation about your billboard.
We are of the strong view that the condemnation doesn't take away from the reality that the billboard reflects the actions by the ANC government that has contributed to the tragic loss of human lives that was avoidable and that could have been prevented had the government led by the ANC done its job properly at all different times.
Okay, you've said as the ANC that you are perhaps going to sue the DA for slander, but the DA is saying, how can you sue for slander when this is true?
Look, as the African National Congress, we are highly disappointed at the arrogance of the DA, but also we are highly disappointed by the attempt of dirty campaigning. It's the way of an African life and how we're socialized, that you cannot be a grave dancer. You can not make a gain out of a death of a person. And I think as a nation, we've came across the issue of Marikana and Esidimeni. We have mourned. And to that particular effect, there were commissions that were established which made recommendations as part of the remedial actions. And I think it's up to us as a nation to allow families to heal, not to rub salt in the wounds of the families. Now as the families are starting to heal, the DA finds it opportune to want to undermine their process of healing and want to use their tragedy and their loss of breadwinners and of fathers and of parents to an electioneering campaign. We, as the ANC, regard this particular measure of the DA as a desperate measure which seeks to undermine our constitutional democracy, but furthermore to undermine the electoral code of conduct. And as the African National Congress, we are going to take this matter up with the Independent Electoral Commission, because according to us, this is dirty campaigning rather than a slander.
Christine, you've heard the DA saying that they stand quite firm on their billboard. They believe that that is the truth out there, and also saying they'll offer families like yours support. What's your response?
What support? The DA hasn't supported us. I mean, the fact that Jack Bloom stood up and you know, was part of the initial people who actually brought this this whole thing out, he wasn't the only one. But the DA hasn't been anywhere near us. They've never offered support. So what makes them think now, when they can do things like this without us, that we are actually going to welcome their support?
Sorry, what's your response to that, saying that you haven't consulted with them and you haven't supported these families, and now you're using their names to further your political means?
Francis, the key issue in this is that the unfortunate incidents of tragedy which has contributed to the loss of life were done by a government that shows its uncaring to its people. Jack Bloom, for instance, has been at the forefront of uncovering a lot of the secrecy that shrouded the Life Esidimeni crisis, and has been a permanent presence in the quest for the truth regarding the revealing the full situation that transpired with regards to that entire situation. So this billboard is consistent with the actions that the DA has taken consistently with regards to Marikana, to hold the government accountable, with regards to holding the government accountable for its neglect contributed to Life Esidimeni, with regards to holding the ANC government responsible for its dereliction of duty and failure to provide sanitation in schools across the country.
That's a point that I wanted to raise with you, in that as distasteful as this billboard may be, some people would say that there is a sense that the ANC government has been responsible for the deaths of people like Michael Komape, or even in the Guyani water project, which was left unfinished after running into the billions. A 6-year-old boy died in an unused and unfinished part. So there's a sense that there is a sense of uncaring with regards to the ANC government.
Look, specifically to Marikana and Esidimeni, there was a process that was undertaken in line with the prescripts of the constitution of the country, wherein a commission of inquiry was established to get the facts. And to that particular effect, there are recommendations, and amongst them is that some of the families must get parity and compensation for the loss of their loved ones. And I think that is a remorse enough that the government has demonstrated in line with the provisions of the law and the rule of law. Now, it's wrong and unethical, immoral for any political party to want to use the death of anybody for political gain or for gaining of votes, because now it's not a period of the commemoration of Marikana. Now it's January, we are preparing for 2019 May national general elections. That's what we are preparing for. So the DA, it's opportunistic to want to use this particular tragedy for purpose of gaining votes. It's wrong, it's immoral. It cannot be used anywhere in the world, be it a genocide or Holocaust or a death of people or even a femicide. We don't use that morally for voting and for campaigning. Even in our cases, the African National Congress, we have lost many comrades to the previous regime in death penalties and anything, including Nelson Mandela. We nearly lost him before his sentence was turned into a life sentence. So those particular things, we can't use them for electionary purposes. We must be sensitive, and we find the DA very insensitive, very arrogant, but more than everything is that the DA is very insecure after the IPSO survey, which downgraded them.
Let's stay on the issue of the Billboard and the controversy around that. Perhaps closer to elections we'll come and start speaking about
the
how people
is a knee-jerk reaction out of the reality that is coming out.
With that, Christine, what would you want to say to the DA now? They're on the phone, they're listening, and you are affected by this Billboard personally.
Look, if DA wants to raise issues with the governing party, by all means do that. We don't have a problem with that. But if they're saying that they are trying to stand for us, then how is it that they are excluding us? How do you take the names of our loved ones without our permission and then put them on a billboard? Of all things that they could put the names on, they put them on a billboard without a single family member there. That is not commemoration. That is campaigning. That is looking for attention. Of all things, a billboard in the most busiest part of Johannesburg. So it is not that they were trying to commemorate or immortalize their family names. It was the fact that they were doing something else other than that. And we obviously didn't matter in the process.
Sorry? Sorry, are you still on the line? We seem to have lost the DA spokesperson there. I'm going to bring the conversation back into studio. What can we learn going into 2019 from an incident like this? Let's try Sodi one more time. My apologies for the confusion. Sodi, you heard what Christine was saying to you there about that billboard. What's your response? So it appears that the sound is there, but perhaps an answer isn't forthcoming for now. My apologies about the break in sound. That is the joy of live television. What can we learn from this going into an election season about how we campaign and how we use what could be very valid points about the governing party, about the Democratic Alliance, about the EFF in a way that's considerate?
Well, from our point of view, there is nowhere in the world where the names of loved ones of any tragedy are publicized as part of a campaign. It is not done. It is distasteful. So what we are asking is that call on the governing party on the things that they do wrong. I mean, that's what we did. That's how we got to the point that we got to. But to then take the names and actually use that, you can't do that. You gotta have principles, and you gotta have a moral compass when you're doing these things. You gotta think about the people that you're claiming to be standing for. So what I'm calling on to and this is something we as a families have done right from the beginning, is to say, please, political parties, leave the tragedies out of your campaigning. It is distasteful. It just does not. It just doesn't sit well with the families.
So are you hearing from people personally affected saying this is hurtful, they don't feel it's the right thing to do, but as the DA you're standing resolute and saying despite this backlash you're going to continue doing so?
I missed some parts because I was disconnected, but as important as the views of the families are, it is equally important to express that what the Billboard seeks to express is government failure, and that government should be held accountable for failing the people of South Africa.
I understand that, but we're also trying to hold you accountable, perhaps as people who are part of the family or affected, and saying this is not right what you are doing now, using people's deaths and using people's pain to campaign, so you should stop doing that.
It is not using tragedy for expediency. It is reflecting the hard truth of what has happened in South Africa as a result of a government that is uncaring. The publication of the names of the individuals is something that has previously been done. There are matters of public record, and what the Billboard seeks to express is to showcase once again that these individuals have been let down by the government that was sought to protect them, that contributed to their tragic loss of life.
Thanks so much.
But it doesn't give them the right to use the names. Just because in a public space, it doesn't mean that they can actually use the names. They still need our permission as families. So he must not misunderstand that part. They are wrong in doing that. And the fact that they are going to be resolute in what they are doing just shows how arrogant they are. It is painful what he's saying. He did not experience what we experienced. We had to fight to get where we are. We held the ANC accountable. That is why they paid the compensations that they did. So we are not apologetic because we're being kind to the ANC. No. We will stand up. If it was the ANC, we would do the very same thing to them as well. But to use the family names without our permission and to stand there and actually think it's okay, really just, it makes me angry. And I can't imagine how the other families are feeling out there.
Solly, have you any plans to perhaps apologize to the family and say this is what we're trying to do, and perhaps we've gotten our message out wrong? Our apologies for using the names. How can we work together going forward? The line seems to break at very opportune moments.
On the question you have asked?
Sorry?
On the question you have asked, can we get in as the ANC?
Can you get in as the ANC? You can. Very briefly, we need to wrap up and go to our weather.
Yes, no, thank you very much. Look, any death, femicide, genocide or Holocaust, the best way to celebrate it is through statues, is through tombs, is through heritage site, is through naming of buildings and streets, not by a billboard. That is wrong. It's unethical and immoral. It's a dirty campaigning, and I think the DA, the honorable thing for them to do is to take out that particular billboard, apologize to the affected families, and ensure that they live up to the code of conduct of the Electoral Act, because for now, the DA is out of order. And that's what they need to understand, because it can't be a free-for-all for them to do as they wish or as they please, and they even have the audacity to tell the families that they are resolute. That's just arrogant. But those are tendencies of a dying party, I understand.
That was the ANC spokesperson Takota Lehuete, Christine Ngumalo of the Life Esidimeni Family Committee, and DA spokesperson Solly Malatsi on the line for us. It's time for a short break in your weather.